A very good afternoon to you. Thanks for joining us again on our program, Africa Discourse on Independent Television. My name is Evan Sunokoge. Today on the program, we are looking at the UNGA 78, talking about United Nations General Assembly in United States of America, and to be precise, in New York. Well, that event started on the 5th of September. And of course, as we speak, it's still ongoing. About tomorrow or thereabouts, it will come to a conclusion. But the highlights of it is that about 2 days ago, we saw where some African leaders came up to make their submission and, of course, made their stance known as far as relationship is concerned within nations of United Nations. Now, we understand that a total of about 193 nations in the world are members of the United Nations. And, of course, almost all the countries in Africa are members of United Nations. And when African nations go to such summits, it is expected that demands will be made. And perhaps for the first time in a long while, we are seeing that African leaders did not go there this time to plead for debt cancellation. And of course, we understand that is one issue that most people have been talking about, that how come African leaders will always play the second fiddle when world leaders gather together to discuss on things that will move their countries forward. But African leaders will always go to the UN General Assembly meeting to plead for debt cancellation. Well, to look at all this this afternoon with us, we are so privileged to have a medical doctor with us who is also very, very interested in international politics and, of course, in Nigerian politics. I'm talking about Dr. Leo Atsikidi, who is a family physician and, of course, the chief medical director of GINAD Specialist Hospital located at Nitel Junction along Lagos Road here in Benin City. So, welcome to the program.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
All right. All right. So we've got I think about 5 African leaders now made their point known. Our own president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and we also saw the Ghanaian president talking about Nana Akufo-Addo, who also made his position known. Then also, too, we have presidents of DRC, that's Democratic Republic of Congo now, in the person of Felix Antoine Tshisekedi, who also made his position known. Then, of course, we have the Mozambican president, Filipe Ayusi, who also made his position known in that summit. All right, so, Doctor, as we hit the ball rolling on this discourse this afternoon, what is your impression about the submission that African leaders, made, their demands and, of course, their concerns? I know you may have had reasons to go through the summits and, you saw their demands and all that. What is your impression?
Well, good afternoon, our audience at home. I have followed this conference, systematically, and I think I am impressed with some of the demands, some of the speeches that are made by our leaders, African leaders especially, this time around. It appears to me that they are gradually waking up from their slumber, because to me, I always tell people, whether you are white or black, I do not see any difference in terms of, when it comes to in terms of intelligence. As far as I'm concerned, the white man is not better intelligent than the black man. And I also feel that they have placed us where we are because all along we continue to play a second fiddle. We see ourselves as inferior to them. Even without them demonstrating it, we demonstrated ourselves. Because if you go around the black continent, you see we revere the white man much better than our own brother who is black. Mm-hmm. If 2 people are walking on the way, for example, one black, one white, people will respect that white man more than the black man. And with all this, we reduced our own value. So this time around, I am very pleased with some of the statements, some of the stands, some of the positions of our African leaders currently, not going there with plate in hand begging for bread and what have you.
Debt cancellation.
So I am happy with the position they are making, but I think after that they need to go home and do writing.
Okay. All right. So to put the world in right perspective now, African leaders are really asking for partnership this time now, instead of the sideline relationship that other nations of the world have always related with Africa. That's just the way it is. But we're going to be looking at all that because it seems that African leaders they are also problems to themselves. We've seen situations whereby the issue of coup d'etat is beginning to creep into African politics, as it were. So let's look at the relationship that they are looking for now. What's your response to that, sir?
No, you see, that is why I ended up by saying during my first opening statement that I believe that after they have made all these beautiful presentations, they should return back to their countries and do the right thing. You see, in Africa, people see leadership position as a do or die thing. For example, it is madness to me for somebody to tell you that has been president for 40 years. And somebody will finish, the constitution says it's 2 terms, maybe of 4 or 5 years. Then when you're about to conclude your term, you go change the constitution and you want to remain there for life. And that is what is encouraging this coup d'etat we're seeing here and there. And again, if you go there with the interests of the people at heart, you will discover that those 8 years or 10 years that, as the case may be, that your constitution allows you to be there statutorily, you discover that if you invest your energy, if you put in your best for the people, you will be eager to finish your term and go and rest. But when you are there stealing public fund, you are there, just for aggrandizement and what have you, you discover that you want to remain there. And one of the reasons why they want to remain there is because they are afraid of the people. They feel that if I leave this office now, I may not get the due respect or whatever I'm supposed to be getting. So, and imagine recently, some people who were in government, a governor will serve for 8 years or 4 years, as the case may be, and they will give themselves, life pension, where they are entitled to nearly everything like the incumbent governor. To me, it's madness, because that is why they keep depriving the people of basic, issues of life, because these resources are limited. And when, for example, let's say in Edo State, I know we have at least up to 4 or 5 governors that are still living. Imagine if they go with such packages. At the end of the day, the budget of the state is depleted. And how do you want the people to survive? So as a result of that, if they don't want coup in African continent, they should go home and and think and know that the people expect good governance. People expect good leadership. People want to live a good life. People want to, nobody wants to live from hand to mouth. Nobody wants to wake up in the morning and you're not sure of a meal. Nobody wants to go to bed and you're sleeping with one eye open. So if they can, after making all these beautiful presentations, they should return back to their countries and set things aright. So, and that is my own thinking about all this.
Okay. All right. So African leaders are actually asking, or they actually asked for a kind of a partnership relationship rather than the sideline relationship that they are having with world leaders. Now, to be more specific now, just like what we said a while ago, that's about almost about 50 countries of Africa, out of the 54 countries in African continent now, about 50 countries. We're at this General Assembly. It's still ongoing though, but we understand that most of them have left there now. Now, for Nana Akufo of Ghana, who has blamed Africa's present day challenges on historical injustice, and of course is thereby calling for reparation for slave trade. Now, it's what amazes you to know, Doctor, that out of a total number of about 1.2 billion slaves that were taken to the Western world, almost about 90% of that number are from Africa.
Yeah.
And of course, for Nana Akufo of Ghana, the president there is asking for reparation for slave trade. Is that feasible?
Well, I think, to me, I think so much injustices were done to all. In fact, they are still perpetrating those injustices till date, as far as I'm concerned, because they carried our grandparents and built their economy, and now they still want to,
our artifacts too.
Good.
Yeah.
So now, even as at present, they still want to perpetrate those crime against Africans subtly, not necessarily buying people as slaves, but again, they do everything humanly possible to ensure that our economies don't thrive. They do anything they want to do to ensure that we remain perpetual beggars. And as far as I'm concerned, Nana Akufo, I think, is right. Because if somebody stole from you, and the person agrees that he has stolen, because I watched some of the leaders in developed countries apologizing to Africans. If you say you have done wrong and you apologize, then we need repatriation. But again, even if they give us repatriation, what will happen to it? That is why I said earlier on that our African leaders, if they make beautiful presentations, it's not just a matter of presentations. Action, they say, speaks louder than words. They should return back to their countries and build their economy. They should forget about their own selfish ambitions and concentrate on building our economy.
Now, the question we ask to that now, African leaders, do you see them having the ability to build Africa's economy on their own without the partnership relationship that they are requesting for?
Partnership is essential, and it oftentimes is mutually beneficial. You know,
but in recent times we've seen whereby it's really not beneficial to Africa as a continent. It's more of concession to the Western world, to the Eastern world. Take, for example, what is happening in some African countries that military junta have taken over.
Yeah.
The Russian Wagner group now, they're acting as mercenaries for Russia, and of course with concession for our resources. So
now, if, for example, you as head of your family and you want assistance probably from another family, it depends on the way you present yourself. If you present yourself as a beggar, of course, they will price you very cheap. But if you let them know that, look, I have something to offer. You need my services while I also need your services. Look at this issue of importation of petroleum products. That's the most foolish thing we have ever done in this country, as far as I'm concerned. Imagine all these years, we carry our crude, we give to these people. They will refine and send it back to us at probably a more expensive or exorbitant price.
without the complementary products.
Nothing. And again, the people who produce these products, they now buy it, so expensive that life is becoming meaningless. Imagine the same product that we produce, that we have in this country. Why don't we just make effort and ensure that our refineries are working? And if you look at even those issues, now, who were the people that crumbled those refineries? Are they not Nigerians? And you discover that why they make sure that those things will be for either one selfish benefit or the other. And that is why they ensure that those refineries don't work. Okay, all these years, why don't we have light? We talk about there's so much gas emissions that can be converted to renewable energy and what have you. Yet, we don't have light in our country. Why? What is the reason? It is the same people, our own people, that are frustrating all this effort. Imagine, okay, you want to construct, there was a time they were constructing one road around the Sako area. The Oyibo man that was supervising the job, the community people came and kidnapped him. So we need to change our orientation in terms of all this. Partnership is important because no man is an ally. Not even within our own country.
So we need to partner
need
with
partnership with, you know, and if you even discover most of all these development breakthroughs that we have in some of these developed world, Africans are behind it.
Of course, of course.
So why can't we, on our own part, utilize those same knowledge, you know, and that we have to develop our own economy?
It is what actually Nana Akufo of Ghana actually talked about, and hence is demanding for some form of reparation. That the Western world, Africans are almost everywhere. They've dominated every sphere of life in the Western world. If you talk of medical, in terms of doctors and all that, you have good Africans, good Nigerians and all that. Now, for the reparation that Nana Akufo is talking of for now, is asking for now, what do you want to suggest? Is this some form of financial reparation, or some other means of paying back to the African continent?
Well, to me, well, I cannot read his mind, but I would think that apart from financial reparation, there could be some other reparations that could help to also, you know, make our economy better.
Like what now?
For example, now, you know, like if I look at Nigeria, they'll be talking about Ajakuta State Complex from Shagari's era till now. And yet, I don't even know whether they roll out anything from that complex. If I were maybe in his shoes, we could quantify those reparations in terms of, you know, in terms of funds, but not necessarily pumping the fund or giving us the fund, you know, as raw, you know, cash. But investing it in something that can continue to, you know, improve on our economy.
Like what now, in human capital development? Or?
Human capital development, infrastructural development, and what have you. So, to me, if we have functional industries that are, you know, that are expanding across Nigeria, you discover that economy, you know, will be better. I'm a doctor, but I am not an economist, but I know, at least I manage my own little economy that comes to me.
Yeah.
So if we have industries like in those days, for example, those who were in secondary school, they were doing vacation job.
Vocational job.
Yes. So that if you're on holidays, you go join one company, they pay you. By the time you are returning back, you have enough fund to pay your school fees. But those things no longer exist. So reparations they are talking about could be in form of human capital development, like you said, and it could also be in form of infrastructural development across Africa that can help us, you know, to grow our own economy.
But don't you think that the problem that we've always had in Africa, I mean, let's take our mind back to the Abacha loot. That is also some form of reparation, you know, money coming back into Nigeria. Can we say, I mean, for Nigeria to have had that huge amount of money from the Western world, and yet almost nothing can be shown for it?
You know, I started by saying that after the beautiful presentations, they should return back home and do the right thing. You know, I'm the type of person who I don't believe in just criticisms or making demands, and whereas behind you do a different thing. Because if our resources are properly channeled, managed, I think we will do better than we are doing right now. If few persons are just holding this nation to ransom, as far as I'm concerned.
And perhaps this continent too?
Yes. What is happening in Nigeria is not different from what's happening in other countries. Though some fare better than others. So if our people can have, I don't know how they're going to do it, can have a reorientation, you know, because our mindset is so focused on how I can grab for myself, grab for myself. And that's what people are doing across board, whether politicians, civil servants, you know, what you know, as long as they are connected with government job, what most people are after is how to grab for themselves and their family.
At the expense of the people.
At the expense of others. And that is why things are not working.
Okay. All right, so let's look at the Nigerian president now, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who has urged his peers, talking about other nations of the world now, to see the region, that's Africa, as not a problem to be avoided, but a true friend and, of course, partner. Now, Doctor, remember, we are looking at what the African leaders are requesting for, that they should allow Africa as a continent to partner with these most developed nations of the world, rather than see them as sideline relationship and all that. Now, let's ask the question one more time. Do you see Africa as a continent that has placed itself, on that position whereby these developed nations we want to partner with? In other words, on what kind of partnership are we looking at here?
I listened to one of these. Is it Niger now? Niger, where these military boys took over.
Yeah.
And they were saying to France that instead of coming to Niger for them to mine uranium, take it to their country and build nuclear stations, that they should rather come and build one in Niger. And I support that 100%.
Okay.
Just the same way like what's happening in our country. Instead of these people carrying our crude from here to wherever they take it to, why don't they come build one refinery here?
Yeah, but the question we ask, do we have the capacity as Nigerians to allow those refineries work? I mean, with the stories of...
Let me tell you, we have more than enough capacity to make them work. You know why systems don't work? For example, you come for an interview for a job. Those who didn't attend the interview will be the one they will employ first. Our people, those who are in charge of these things, they don't bother whether you have the requisite qualification, whether you have the technical ability or whatever.
Yeah.
The first thing they are interested in is, are you related to me? In some places they sell appointments. How much can you offer? If you can offer, we will take you. Then forget about whether that man is qualified or not. It's not important. So as long as if those who are in charge of this establishment, they agree to put square pegs in square holes, things will work. There are people who can make sure that these industries or refineries, they work, they are there. But the problem is that they do not have the requisite connection in quote.
What about the poverty and perhaps the hardship that has pervaded the Nigerian polity? I mean, those are some of the factors.
Let me tell you, there are Nigerians who are prepared. There are Nigerians or human beings in this country
not to go and break the pipelines anymore.
Those who break the pipelines, well, let me tell you, I always believe that a thief will always be a thief. A thief will always be a thief. That same man who is breaking the pipeline, making president of Nigeria, he will not stop stealing. No matter what you do, there are those that are kleptomanics. No matter what you do, they will still steal. But there should be appropriate sanctions. Appropriate sanctions. So, if people who want to do the right thing, you give them opportunity to serve. There are those who will want to look for every means to ensure that they remove them. And many a time, people can frame up anything. And of course, you know the way we do it here, they will suspend you. And once you are suspended, you are not sure of coming back.
Okay, I'll pause you there so that we can quickly take a break now. Don't forget the program is Africa Discourse on independent television. And our special focus today is looking at UNGA, that's the United Nations General Assembly 78th session, whereby Africa leaders, went there. And of course, the media demand points are clear. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. All right, thank you one more time. The program is still Africa Discourse on Independent Television. We are looking at the 78th session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York, all the way in the United States of America, whereby African leaders, went there, and of course, demands were made. One thing that stands clear is that they are so, they know what they are looking for this time, just like what I said a while ago, that unlike previous editions, where we see African leaders, cap in hand, begging for debt cancellation and all that. But this time, they are requesting for partnership rather than the sideline relationship that other nations of the world have always had with Africa as a continent. Then we were looking at our own President Bola Tinubu, who has demanded that world leaders should see Africa as partners rather than friends or some friends that will be avoided. Then I was looking at the posture of Africa as a continent, economical posture, political posture, and all that. Now, because when you want somebody to respect you, just like what you were trying to say, you must put yourself in that position to be respected. I mean, it is earned. It's something that you work hard for. But in Africa, we've always not had that situation. We've always sold ourselves away, by the things going on in governance, economic situations and all that. Now, what do you think are the problems, one more time?
You see, well, like we've identified earlier, some of the reasons why these other nations of the world, they look down on us, they are numerous. Look at our systems of choosing our leaders, the electoral process. Everyone is guilty. Everyone is guilty. Now, they only complain when it does not favor them. When it favors them, it is right. Now, if you look at, apart from the process of choice of leaders, look at our various states, houses of assemblies, and our National Assembly. Whatever they do is open to the entire world. Some of the things we do does not really tell good of us. And as a result of that, they will disrespect us. They see us as insincere set of people. They see us as fraudulent. Imagine somebody, you now, for example, let's say I now as Asikidi, I will go and steal from my father's house and take it to Unohuge's house. And go and use it to build Unohuge's house. Whereas my own house, there's nothing there. That's what our people are doing. Imagine you appoint somebody to be a leader. He goes there to steal all the resources and goes to invest them in another man's country. And he knows that country, wherever he is, he may naturalize. Or it may become a citizen, but you will still know that you are not a part of that land. So these so-called politicians, by the way they behave, no, you will welcome me to come and develop your house, but inside you are telling me this man must be a fool.
There's an ulterior motive.
This man must be stupid for you to carry your own goods, your own whatever you have in your family, now bring it into another family to develop that family. Is that not madness? And that is why we are disrespected. And it is high time we began to change some of these things, the way we behave, whether nationally or whatever. Okay, look at it. National Assembly, they have to prepare a budget. And in the course of preparing that budget, you call the various ministries, government agencies to come defend their budget. And in the process of doing that, you're asking them to give you kickback.
And the budget is even still padded most times.
Good. And who are you deceiving? And you come to the public and tell us a social amount, but you fail to let the people know that this budget we're actually passing is based on how much you can afford. And you think it's not hidden, everybody knows it.
Okay, let's talk about, because you were trying to talk about the way our leaders emerge, which is a major problem on the continent of Africa.
Yes.
You said almost everybody is guilty.
Almost everybody is guilty.
If almost everybody is guilty, where do we go from there?
Now, that is why I mentioned earlier on that appropriate sanctions. Imagine, you know, so sometimes when I see politicians will leave Edo State and go to a high court in Abuja, they are indirectly telling us that they are not sure of getting justice here. That is why they are going to Abuja. Imagine high court behind me. I will not live there. I will go to a high court in Abuja. It's because the system, they are not sure of the system.
Yeah, but you won't also blame those politicians, because when the leadership of such courts have some political, you know...
That is what I'm saying. Everybody, when I say everybody is guilty, I mean everybody is guilty. For example, now, in all the states of the federation, go and look at the way governors conduct local government elections. They will tell you that they had 40 over 40 or 100 over 100. Is that possible? You know, and these same governors will shout that the presidential election was manipulated. That's what is happening across the 36 states. I don't know whether Abuja they have local government elections.
They don't.
So, and if you, what moral justification do you have to tell us that if you manipulated local government elections, what moral justification do you have to now tell us that the presidential election was manipulated or the governorship election was manipulated? What moral justification? And some of these people, they do all this, they still go to church and give thanks. You know, we're just deceiving ourselves. And that's the way I see it.
You know, at times when some of these cases come up and they go to court, and you see the way these cases are interpreted, even with the evidences, and you wonder what is really going on. I mean, what is going on?
Let me, you see, many years ago, I was in secondary school, I think class 3, when they were conducting one election. I don't want to mention any particular government, whatever. In my village, as a small boy, I wasn't qualified to vote. I didn't go there to vote. My father was one of the, what do you call them, those who supervise the elections.
One of the ad hoc staff now.
Good. So, while the election was going on, somebody came, a junior person to him, and said, you should allow them to print those ballot papers. My dad said no, that everybody must come here to vote one after the other.
And perhaps you are talking about over 40, 45
years
ago.
Over 40 years ago.
So we still have that issue.
So my dad said no. The man was telling my father, look, the other side, they have finished voting since. And I asked my mother, did you vote? He said before the kid, they said they have voted for them.
They voted for them.
And we are still doing the same thing in this 21st century. So these are some of the reasons why the white man looks as stupid. For example, why can't somebody sit there in his house and cast his vote? Why must you go and queue up? And now
there are issues with that now.
Wait, I know. They want to do everything to disenfranchise the people so that they cannot select who leads them. So it now depends on, if few persons will just sit down and say this man is loyal. It's not that he's loyal to the people, but loyal to me as an individual. Yeah. Loyalty is judged by their relationship with individual, not with the people.
With certain individuals.
Yes. Okay. And a few persons will say, whether you like it or not, day or night, this is the man that is the next local government chairman. If you like, vote. If you like, don't go and vote. Of course, before you finish voting, the results are announced.
All right, so for President Philip Antoine Tshisekedi, that's the president of the Democratic Republic of Congo, who has said that trickling subsidies featured by the selfish interests of donors will certainly not allow for a real effective rise of the African continent. Now, what Tshisekedi seems to be talking about now is the kind of assistance, that you hear world leaders give to Africa in terms of maybe subsidizing one thing or the other for the continent and all that. Now, there is an ulterior motive in those subsidies that they give. And if this continues, it will not make the African states, to rise steadily, Dr. Leonard.
Yes. You see, if we make up our mind, if we make up our mind to develop our nation, we will surmount some of those things that we're talking about. Because just like I mentioned along the line, those developed nations, they want to continue to remain where, or to continue to advance while we depreciate.
Do we know this?
Well, I don't know whether everybody knows this. But for me, let me tell you, some years back, nobody told me. It just got done on me that we are unnecessarily patronizing this Western world. For example, what is your name? What is my name? Leonard. Have you ever seen Oyiboma bearing Unohoge? Have you seen Oyiboma who says, my name is Unohoge, no matter how popular that name is? Have you seen Oyiboma answering Osas? Have you seen any of these people imitating us for anything? But here, even if you give a child a name, say Osato or Osasu, that same child will go and add another name, because they believe that unless you have a white man's name, that you are not yet, you have not arrived. These are some of the little things that we are doing in our environment that betrays us. These are some of the things we are doing. We must start from the basics. We must start from the basics.
Now, when you say we must start from the basics now, do you want to suggest that perhaps we may have to go back? Because some analysts have also said that this presidential system of governance that we so enjoy now, democracy that we so enjoy, some persons will tell you that it is not African, that we should go back to our own system of governance, system of governing ourselves. So if you're of that opinion too, what would you want to suggest? Because everything we're talking about here now is tied to leadership. The way leaders emerge, it is when we have good leaders that we can actually get it back.
We may not be able, or we may not advocate that we should go to our colonial system. Pre-colonial system.
Now.
We may not advocate that we should go to our pre-colonial system. But
now, are we even trying to write off our pre-colonial system? After all, are we saying that nothing about it?
No. There's, when you grow, or when you become experienced, you begin to see that some of those things that people used to tell you they are bad or they are evil, they are not actually bad. For example, now, there was a time some things were missing at Oba Market. No matter the amount of prayer, nobody returned anything. They said somebody went there and talked about they were swearing with juju. And people began to return bags of rice and what have you. I'm not preaching idolatry. What I'm saying in essence is that there are basic things that are supposed to help us to grow. The white man came, after they came, and of course they tried to indoctrinate us. Yes, agreed, we are Christians now, but they came and gave us gun to kill ourselves. Look at youths everywhere fighting and killing themselves. For what? For nothing. Why pick up a gun and shoot your neighbor and kill the person? That is not African. It is not part of our culture. We value life more than the white people value it. If like I hear them in abroad, everybody goes around with one small gun or the other. And if you trample on their right, they can shoot you and kill you. But that is not African. So we need to go to some basic things that we know will help us, not idolatry. per se.
Yeah, even those basic things that we started as Africans now, that we thought that they were African ideologies. Take, for example, some of the court organizations that we have, you know, in African society. Now, they were born out of fighting for freedom, that they wanted to break loose from the colonial clinches and, you know, imprisonment, incarceration and all that. And of course, most of those court organizations came up. But even at that, we still have issues with that now. So don't you think, or should I ask the question, what do you think is basically wrong with the African man, with the black man as it were?
The basic, to me, what I see is that the crave for wealth is a basic issue. Insatiable appetite. People want to grab and grab and grab. They've forgotten that no matter what you have, when God wants to call you home, you won't even remember what you left behind when you were traveling. So people need to understand or to begin to realize, and this actually should start from the family unit.
Background.
From the family unit. So if you make your children believe that you need to steal for you to become wealthy, that you must become wealthy for you to become relevant, then it will affect the entire society.
Okay. All right. So as we wrap up now, the Mozambican president, that's Felipe Ayosi, was of the opinion that Africa should not be seen as a warehouse. That's one opinion he made, and also he also said that Africa should not be seen as that continent that supplies cheap labor force, as it were. Now, we're looking at a situation that has to do with the way dollar has been fighting against Naira, and perhaps most currencies of African nations. Now, how do we get it right in this direction one more time?
You see, now, he is saying that Africa should not be made, like, it's just saying like it should not be a dumping ground.
A dumping ground. Africans go, they take Africa as cheap, you know, labor. That's what it's saying.
Yes. Now, you see the kind of migration we have. Even professionals are leaving
the continent,
the country and the continent.
The continent, living the continent.
And now, why are they leaving?
Yeah.
Because they need better life. Simple.
Okay.
And if government can be determined to at least make life a little bit more comfortable for its citizens, then cheap labor you are talking about, of course, can reduce.
All right, Doctor, we may have to stop it there now because of our time here on the program today. I want to say a very big thank you for finding time to come. Dr. Leonard Atsekide, you spoke like a politician. Even, you know, you are in different field entirely. So we most sincerely thank you for making it on the program today.
Thank you, sir.
All right, sir. All right, so that's the show today on the program Africa Discourse with Evans Huge. Same time next week is going to be another edition. And of course, we urge you that you make a time with us on the program. Goodbye and God bless you.